my Mompreneur studio. I'm Anisa Crespo, and on this episode of She Swaps, I am talking to Kathy at Reclaiming Hope Coach. So, Kathy, welcome. How are you this morning?
I'm wonderful, and so thank you very much.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you here. I know you've had quite a journey, so I'm also excited to let you share it with our audience, talk about all your resilience, the things you've been through, and why you help the people you help, and anything else you'd like to share. So please tell us.
Right, thank you. So I spent over 2 decades as an engineer and project manager at Verizon, working in a field dominated by men. As a dedicated professional, wife, and mother of 3 boys and a stepdaughter, my daily life was a balancing act, managing work responsibilities with family life. I believe my calling was to succeed and make my mark in this corporate world. Tragedy struck when my son Trevor, a healthy boy of 6.5 years old, who was playing one evening, was found dead in his bed the next morning. It was called Sudden Unexplained Death in Childhood, SUDC. This devastating event shook our world to its core. Despite my immense grief, I returned back to work within 10 days of his passing, fearing that my loss would not be understood or accepted at work. At that time, I didn't realize how deeply Trevor's death had affected my body and mind. The impact was akin to a traumatic brain injury. Every facet of my life shifted dramatically and not for the better. My husband and I both struggled with making decisions, mood swings, persistent feelings of confusion, disorientation. Physical symptoms included exhaustion paired with insomnia. Unexplained physical issues, such as a constant eye twitch, all were telltale signs of trauma. Life turned into a daily struggle for my husband and I. Each workday, a fight against exhaustion. We arrived home drained, yet we had to care for our surviving children. We felt increasingly isolated, unable to keep up with life, quietly struggling, deeply aware of our pain, and noticing that people were pulling away from us. While we found grief support for our children, there really was no such support available for us. It was so hard to see beyond the pain and loss. Everything in life was just harder. I longed for support, but none was available for adults or it wasn't specific to grief. I turned to other local grieving families and I found a deep connection with them, but I also connected to other SUDC parents. My husband and I were both peer supports for SUDC Foundation. Not only did this fill a void, but it also revealed a strength in me. I was really good at providing support to others. This experience sparked the idea of changing careers to help others in grief, yet the thought of leaving my secure corporate job seemed like a long shot. I was torn between the comfort of my current career and the uncertain path of grief counseling. This uncertainty, coupled with my own ongoing grief, left me paralyzed, unsure if I could fully commit to a profound career shift. I started to explore new directions and how I could support myself and stumbled upon energy medicine. It helped me understand the body mind connection. Around that time, I vividly remember reading The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. Suddenly, the reasons behind our drastic personality changes became very clear. I felt elated to finally identify a cause which suggested a possible intervention. This revelation was transformative, offering a glimpse of hope that there was a way to not only understand our suffering, but to actively address it. In 2018, my life took a series of dramatic turns. In May, my husband suffered a severe health crisis, an aortic aneurysm that required urgent open heart surgery. The tension escalated when updates from the OR staff were unexpectedly delayed for 4 hours. Without updates from the doctors, my mind raced to the worst case scenario. I feared I had become a widow. Later, we learned he had experienced a stroke and required over 20 pints of blood to stabilize. This harrowing experience underscored the fragility of life, reshaped my perspective on what truly mattered, and it turned my layoff from a long-standing engineering career in that December into a catalyst to pursue my deeper calling. Seizing it as a sign, I enrolled in a master's program in clinical mental health counseling and pursued certifications in grief education. Guided by mentors, professors, experienced colleagues, and leaders in the counseling field, I gained invaluable insights and encouragement. Their support was crucial as I transitioned from the corporate world to a profession focused on profound human experiences. And in late 2019, during this educational journey, my husband and I began addressing our own unresolved traumas through professional memory reprocessing. We worked to understand and alleviate the pervasive effects of our traumas, which manifested as anxiety, panic attacks, and constant fear. I pursued training in EMDR and other trauma modalities, and this personal healing process was transformative, reinforcing our belief that we were finally ascending from our darkest lows. With newfound skills and knowledge, I wholeheartedly committed to my journey of becoming a grief professional. The financial support from corporate layoff allowed me to power through my master's degree, fueling my transition with both the resources and motivation to move forward. I was not simply pursuing a career, I was responding to a profound calling. Every step forward in my education and the establishment of my practice was taken with excitement and determination. It felt like I was truly on my way, finally aligning my professional life with my deepest values and desires. As I was forging my new path, the world was hit with the COVID-19 pandemic. New York State shut down preventative medicine, and my routine mammogram was canceled for 6 months. My internship, a critical component of my degree, was also canceled. The pandemic itself was traumatic. Having previously lost a child to unknown causes, I was particularly apprehensive about the new COVID-19 vaccine. This led to significant turmoil and further isolation from friends and family. Then in August of 2020, during the week of Trevor's death anniversary, I discovered a lump in my breast. I was diagnosed with two different types of breast cancer. These challenges were not mere obstacles, they were profound tests of my resilience and my faith in my journey. Each hardship forced me to confront fears and make decisions that would not only affect my health, but also my ability to continue supporting others in grief. During my battle with cancer, I underwent 16 rounds of chemotherapy, 27 rounds of immunotherapy, 5 surgeries. Remarkably, through this grueling treatment, I maintained my commitment to my rescheduled full-time internship in mental health counseling. The pandemic, with its numerous challenges, inadvertently offered a silver lining. I was able to meet with my clients via Zoom, which allowed me to continue to work without revealing my illness or hair loss. The period was intensely challenging, yet it reinforced my dedication to my new path. It was as as each session had held and each client I helped strengthened my resolve to help myself and others. The privacy afforded by virtual sessions became a gift, enabling me to maintain professionalism and empathy despite my suffering. At some point, my husband and I began exploring the possibility of leaving New York with urgency to find a place where we could both heal and change the trajectory of our lives. Secretly, my health challenges amplified this need. I grappled with the fear that my life might not reach old age, and the thought we always have someday until we don't was screaming in my head. The decision to relocate was not taken lightly. It was a deliberate step towards a better environment for our family, one where we hope to face fewer struggles and embrace more freedom, and the need for vaccine exemptions for my children. Having already lost one child to unknown causes, the idea of exposing my two sons to a new vaccine was unthinkable. Choosing to relocate amidst finishing a cancer treatment and my master's degree was a monumental task. This period was laden with stress, not just from the logistical demands of moving, but also from the emotional burden of leaving the home where Trevor last lived, clearing out the house we had called home. This is where I might get emotional. Sorry.
Okay, no need to apologize.
Clearing out the house that we had called home for nearly 2 decades was an emotional ordeal. Each room held memories, each item a reminder of our different stages of our family life. Deciding what to keep and what had to be let go was like sifting through the layers of our past. We also had to say goodbye to family and friends, and I'm sure they didn't fully understand why. But I would become very familiar with not being understood. Grief changes how you look at a lot, and it's a perspective unmatched by anything else. So, just days after completing my cancer treatment, I drove to our new home in Tennessee, symbolizing a fresh start. However, the toxicity from the treatment had other plans, and I soon faced the daunting setback with facial paralysis. This condition severely tested my confidence, but it also served as a stark signal for my body. It was as if my body was shouting, "Uncle, Uncle," telling me it was time to stop and allow myself to rest and heal. Historically, I had strived to be everything to everyone, but this challenge forced me to realize that I needed to prioritize my own well being. With this new understanding, I began to build my coaching business at a pace that respected my health. This business slowly started to take shape. Alongside this, I deepened my expertise with a hypnosis certification. Learning and applying hypnosis transformed my approach to healing, both personally and professionally. Living my new normal in Tennessee, I focused on managing the lingering effects of facial paralysis and building my business. This period was about navigating the complexities of healing while laying down the foundations for future growth. The plentiful outdoor time in the southern sunshine was a blessing. The improved weather allowed my husband and I more time outdoors, engaging in bird watching, a pastime at which we feel closest to Trevor. On one memorable occasion, I counted as many as 12 cardinals in our backyard at one time. These moments, feeling the presence of nature and our connection to Trevor, grounded me in the present and gave me strength. Living as a cancer survivor brought its own set of challenges, including the fear of reoccurrence and dealing with the continuous emergence of chemo side effects. It was like health whack-a-mole, trying to alleviate physical pain, trying to correct facial paralysis, trying to correct dizziness, a stark reminder of my vulnerabilities. After trying numerous remedies without success, I turned to LifeWave patches as a last-ditch effort. Remarkable that these treatments helped me regain movement in my face and lowered the pain. Finally, a significant milestone in my recovery. This improvement is not just a testament to my resilience to keep seeking solutions and my dedication to self care. It also led me to become an affiliate, continually amazed by the results, especially in a scenario with limited medical understanding. I've had the privilege of marveling at my children's successful adaptation to new schools in Tennessee. My husband's new employment has further contributed to our sense of renewal. These experiences not only reflect healing, but also reaffirm life and joy amidst the previous hardships, offering an opportunity to see possibility when trauma mechanisms are alleviated in one's own nervous system. In hindsight, I recognize that my breast cancer was likely brought on by not addressing trauma and grief early on. This realization has become a cornerstone in my business, Reclaiming Hope Coach. I now focus on helping others resolve trauma first and understand that the impact of unresolved trauma on physical emotional health, guiding them toward healing that encompasses both mind and body. Through this work, I aim to empower others to reclaim hope and joy in their lives just as I have in mine. In 2023, my husband and Peter and I authored the book Tapestry of Loss: A Family's Path to Healing and Hope. The book intended to serve as a guiding light for those engulfed in the darkness of grief, and our book delves into the heart of my family's journey through the devastating impact of our son Trevor's death, offering a tender exploration from profound sorrow to healing. At its core, the book provides practical wisdom and coping strategies, drawing from my expertise as a grief coach and our shared experience as a couple. Its uniqueness lies in our dual perspective on each topic, highlighting the distinct ways we navigated life, the loss, and life after. The book and my coaching practice represent the culmination of my journey, enabling me to give back and support others in ways I deeply needed. I believe my process is unique in that by first resolving the trauma, we can expand the nervous system's capacity allowing for a more effective grief processing without the constant alerts from trauma's alarm. Utilizing hypnosis, which engages in the subconscious mind, where 97% of our deepest emotions, habits, and responses are stored, allows us to bypass the typical conscious barriers and directly address the subconscious patterns that influence the health and well being. By employing targeted suggestions and reprocessing traumatic memories, I've been able to help clients build resilience, foster a more positive outlook, and enhance their mental agility and creative thinking. Approaching the fourth anniversary of my diagnosis, I'm struck by how my journey highlights the incredible power of self healing and profound impact of aligning our conscious and subconscious mind to navigate life trials and embrace new starts. With the new sense of purpose, I come back to my community not just armed with a story, but with tangible tools for resolution and finding a path to hope.
Oh my goodness. So, this will be edited and the audience probably won't know that we both had to take a minute to just,
Okay.
oh my goodness. That was really powerful. Kathy, your story is incredible. Your resilience, first and foremost, I am so very sorry for your loss. I cannot even begin to fathom what it is to lose a child. I can't. There's really just no words. And there was something that you had said that um, I was wondering, like when you said people were pulling away, do you think it's because they didn't know what to say, or you were just isolating, or maybe a combination?
I think it was a combination of all of that because, um, one of the things I noted after Trevor passed was like just idle chit chat was hard. People wanted to talk about their kids. Like when I was back at work, the first question, you would meet a vendor, and the first question they would ask is, "Oh, do you have kids?" So you could go from like, "All right, I'm ready to tackle the day," and then, "Ooh, I'm derailed," you
Uh,
know?
yeah.
Um, or, you would have to listen to, other parents, complain about their kids.
Uh, that's the worst, right?
And sometimes, and I know that, that's their experience and that was their life, but it was hard for my husband and I. We were like, he's alive. Like he's alive. Just love him.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I have 4-year-old twins, and they certainly know how to work the nerves, but we we really need to be gracious with them because they are just kids, and they are finding their way in life, and thank God. I mean, it's just I can't even imagine. So something very difficult, I imagine, for you. We're approaching Mother's Day here. How do you balance being a mother to your children and celebrating while dealing with this at the same time?
Hmm. Those first couple Mother's Days were gut wrenching. I've always, I show up for my kids here in the most positive way that I can. And then it's usually about allowing them to go and be busy so that I can break down.
Yeah,
I learned very early trying to fight and hold back the grief was harder
yeah.
than if I just found a way to just let it go, you know?
Yeah, I certainly have never experienced the loss of a child that was living. I've experienced, a miscarriage, but that's not
I'm
the
so
same thing.
sorry.
Thank you. And it's not the same thing at all. And I remember even like when my mother passed away, again, it is not the same thing. That those Mother's Day with the first couple when I was still going through the grieving stages, it was just like, ugh. And then for me, a few years later, my twins were actually born completely by chance on her birthday. Yes,
Oh,
like
I
they
have
share
chills.
that and then it was interesting because they were supposed to, it was a scheduled C-section, and it was actually scheduled for the day before, and they had a scheduling issue at the hospital, and they called me up and they said, is it okay if you do this tomorrow? It's like, is it okay? Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's an incredible
It
story.
was
I love
pretty
that.
cool. And by that time in my life, I had gone through the grieving stages, so it was not, it was, I don't hurt. I mean, you always hurt, right? But it's not as bad. Like those first couple of years for me were like horrible.
Hmm.
And that's my mom, you know what I mean? Like, but she was in her 60s, well, she was 61, and just a cancer diagnosis. Then 2 months later, that was it. And it was hard. But the point is, like, we go through this, everybody goes through grieving in different ways, and we have to like figure out ways to still be there for the people that are still in our lives,
Absolutely.
like my twins on their birthday. Like I could never take that away from them because I was, grieving for my mom on that day. So it just became like a happy and joyous kind of occasion. But again, losing a parent and losing a child, two different things, not the same thing. I know some people say loss is loss, and I'm just gonna humbly disagree. No parent should ever, ever, ever have to experience that. So, um, another thing that you mentioned was Life Wave, and I was just wondering if you could expand on that just a little bit, because I think that a lot of people don't know what it is and how powerful it is.
So LifeWave are patches that you put on specific locations on your body that are actually like acupuncture or acupressure locations. And then they work systemically to self-correct whatever is going on in your body. So I think that's where it really made a difference for me, because we knew that the facial paralysis was likely a toxicity thing, but any of the other interventions that I tried, and I saw specialists at Vanderbilt, we couldn't get around why and how to correct it. So, it really was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but it's worth a shot because I've already tried like 25,000 other things. So what's one more, right? And within like a couple of weeks, I noticed more movement. And then because it really works to self-correct what's going on in your body, it didn't just help the facial paralysis. It helped minimize the pain that I was experiencing, because chemo also immediately put me in like a forced menopause. So the estrogen drop there just caused like intense pain everywhere. Um, so anyways, it's systematically like corrected all these little things that had been really plaguing me and impacting my life. Like I could barely walk. If I didn't get out of bed in the morning and immediately start walking and stay in motion all day, eventually was just like I couldn't move anymore. So it was a tough period in my life.
I'm sure it was. And it has something to do with stem cells, right?
Yeah, well, it activates at the cellular level to correct. So, and that is a science that's, something I don't necessarily understand. And they have all these different patches. Some of them are for more active people that are more athletic. I don't qualify there, but
What did we need?
but then they have some that are specifically just for energy. So, and then they have some that are more geared towards mental health. So it's really, really cool that, you can kind of pick and choose which one you use. The one that I went with was like the X39, which is more of an overall, does everything. So it really worked out
You
well.
went for the Cadillac.
Yeah, I was like, if I'm doing this, just fix me. Just whatever it is, fix me,
Yeah.
please.
I mean, and they also have them like for children, like if children have like ADHD or
Yes.
different types
Yeah.
of issues. I mean, it's
Yeah.
incredible the strides that they're making with these patches. It really is. So if nobody has heard of LifeWave, I highly recommend it, and we'll make sure that there's a link that people can click so that because Kathy's an affiliate as well. So the other thing I just want to say is you mentioned how you believe that the breast cancer was a result of your unhealed grief. And it's interesting that you say that because I have talked to so many women who've experienced breast cancer and other cancers, and it's literally the same story every time. They've found ways to heal themselves completely naturally. I mean, obviously you went through the motions of the chemo and the radiation and the surgeries and all of that kind of stuff. I had a woman on my podcast recently, and she was diagnosed, and basically they tried to get her immediately into treatment because that's what they do.
That is what they do.
That they shuffle you immediately into all the things. And she got a second opinion, and somebody, told her about these other holistic options, and she completely healed herself holistically
It's
from breast cancer. And it is incredible. And she said the same thing. We we have these environments in our bodies that are just harnessing a space where cancer can just live and breed, and we don't even know it. And it starts years and years and years before the cancer is diagnosed, and
does.
we don't even know it. And it's incredible the way the body works, the way it operates. I mean, everything is tied together: mind, body, spirit, emotion.
Hmm.
It's all connected, and when one thing is out of whack, I mean, anything could be out of whack. So
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember trying to be so strong and stoic after Trev died.
yeah.
And in hindsight, you know, it's that task that I think really set me up for the long journey that I've had. And when you mentioned the healing for your friend and her breast cancer journey, if there is one regret that I have, was that I didn't slow my roll when I was diagnosed to explore some of those options. And because I'm sorry, chemo was just an awful experience for me, for my family, for, especially during the pandemic. You know, it just heightened everything, right?
Absolutely.
Um, like they wouldn't even, I had to fight to allow my husband to come with me for treatments because they're at that point they weren't even allowing people into medical facilities. And
Yeah, when I gave birth to my twins, we lived in New Jersey at the time, and they wouldn't let my husband in the delivery room.
oh my God, that's
He had to video chat. These were our first children, our first and last children. They made him video chat the birth of our children. It was absolutely ridiculous. We since moved to Florida, but I mean, we're not gonna. That's a whole other
it
podcast
is, it is,
episode.
it
But I
is.
mean, yeah, and I know what you're saying too, because it was like the same thing for my mom. Like, she had a surgery that was just going to prolong her life, but what kind of a life? It was not a cure, because you can't cure pancreatic cancer. It just, they have Whipple surgery, but you have to cut through like four different organs, and all these organs in here. And
Hmm.
she it was just, she didn't make it out of the surgery, and I thank God for that, because you know what I mean. She didn't have to go through that. What was it going to be like? The chemo, the radiation. We had been through it with her father 20 some years earlier. So she was the sixth person in my family to pass away from pancreatic
Oh,
cancer.
wow.
So very familiar
So
with the way
sorry.
it was. Yeah, and it's just one of those things. And so it was almost a blessing, like, that she didn't make it out, because she went peacefully. She didn't have to suffer any longer than she already had, which wasn't too long. And that was just that. So I know that
Mm.
you went through a lot of struggle. I've seen it firsthand. I know how awful it is. And then to have to go through that during COVID, and then in a place like New York. I mean,
Mhm.
shoot. So, I'm like at a loss for words. I'm so glad that we met. This won't be our last conversation, certainly. And like I said, I'm going to make sure people have links to connect with you, because you do have something very special to offer. I mean, I'm a coach, I'm connected to thousands of other coaches. We all help people, but you're helping people do something that is unimaginable and get through a period of their life where they honestly don't even know where to turn. They're angry at God. They don't even know how to keep their faith. I mean, this is something that you can offer them, and not because you have a degree that says on a piece of paper that you studied how to do this. It's because you lived through it, you healed through it, and now you want to help the next person. And that's what I love about what you do.
Thank you. I thank you. And that you summarized it perfectly. That is exactly why I do when I do. If I can shine, it will never justify or make it right that Trevor is no longer with me. But if I can use his this loss and help somebody else, then at least I can put some meaning to why he had to pass away, if that
That's
makes
a
sense.
beautiful thing. That makes perfect sense. And that's an incredibly difficult thing to come to fruition and say, you know what, I'm gonna turn my trauma into triumph. I mean,
Yeah.
that is just you're turning your pain into power, and that's what we're all about. That's we as women, we're so resilient, and that's not to discount the wonderful men in our lives, but there's something to be said about the things that we just manage to go through and then come out on the opposite side stronger than ever. I mean,
Hmm. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just want to celebrate you for that. And
Thank you.
I really appreciate you taking the time to share all those painful things with us. And I'm not sure if it's appropriate to say Happy Mother's Day,
It
but
is. It is.
I do hope that you have some joy.
I do. I will. And thank you.
Good. Thank you. Now, if you could leave the audience with just one thing, what would it be?
Mm. Um, you're not alone. Grief is so isolating, and trauma is even more isolating. And I just want them to know that they're not alone and that there is support for them.
Absolutely. That is so powerful. It's so true. A lot of times when we're going through the trauma and the things, we don't want to reach out for help. We just want to kind of dive deep inside of ourselves and crumble up and just I know, I get it. But
Hmm.
there is help out there. There is support. And, now even more than ever, because we can have a conversation in another state with each other in another country. You can help people globally now. I mean, it's
Yes. Yep.
unbelievable. So, Kathy, thank you so, so much for coming on and sharing with us. And I will definitely talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.